What's going on, sailors? And yup, you read the title right. Today we get our slice of the Player-Vs-Environment content. Exactly what we needed. 11 minutes of raw, unfiltered gameplay that shows us more of the exploration and combat in the world. This also includes an article interview with main-mmo.de and Charles Bradbury of Amazon Game Studios. We get some extra details explaining what we see in the video, along with some new information about what are known as artifact encounters. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into this. It starts off by showcasing two different characters traveling to one of the ancient towers of Edengrove. This area's name is revealed to us early on in the article, and it's described as one of the supernatural areas on the island. Here is where we encounter an altogether different family of enemies than other places, and one of the enemy types is known as Angry Earth. As we can see here, this specific tower consists mainly of Dryad enemies, which we have seen before in previous diaries. These guys are smart, very fast-paced, and dabble a little bit in poison from what we can see. Luckily though, we've already seen in the previous diary that we will have access to a poison antidote we can craft. The poison damage being applied to the character doesn't seem to be doing that much damage to begin with, but these characters are also about 10 plus levels above the mobs here. So when you're fighting them on equal footing, this antidote might be something to strongly consider keeping stock of. We also see a fresh example of one of the chests we can gather out in the world, which will contain special resources for crafting, or even resources and gear we can use for salvage. It's also mentioned in this article that this is one of the places that will contain key items we can use to later journey to a larger structure. And these larger sites might just include what are known as artifact encounters, which we'll be going over in just a bit. The second part shows us taking a journey into the Snowy Region, which is already my second favorite area right after the rainy zone of Morningdale. Also wanted to apologize if the footage seems blurry. They uploaded it in 720p, so it might look a little rough here and there. Wanted to point out though that usually when we kill monsters, we would gain territory standing for these areas. But if you notice, both in Edengrove and the Snowy area, they don't gain any standing at all. Not sure how up to date this build is, but that could potentially mean there's no settlements in either one, which would also make sense if there's in-game grinding zones completely controlled by the enemies. We finally get a quick look at a star metal vein, which will give you metal for tier 4 crafting, but this person also got a few gems from that gathering too. This area that they're in is a snowy area of the north that hasn't been named or shown on the map yet, but we do know that this area is somewhere in the vicinity of Shatter Mountain and Murkgard. Be sure to keep that in mind if you're looking for star metal. The next part is probably my favorite in the video. We arrive at a fortress completely overran with corrupted. Right away we start seeing mobs of different types and abilities. In my opinion, I think this is where we start seeing those influences of Dark Souls really kick in. There are some gaps we can see in the AI, such as mobs missing their shots easily, activating skills too early, etc. But overall, these mobs have an intelligence to them. They react to our attacks and execute dodging, blocking, and skills of their own. They will surround you and swarm you. Get too close to a range mob, he'll fall back to create some distance between you before taking a shot. But ultimately the corrupted have completely different behavior than the dryads, which I do like. The dryads seem more mobile, more tactical, while the corrupted seem to be more reckless, coming at you like a zombie horde to try and overpower you. And in narrow places like this, that could actually be very dangerous at endgame, especially considering these guys almost died at their level. Next part shows us a look at another settlement, and this one is known as Restless Shores, which is another one we haven't seen before. It shows us the tax information at the very top, which is considered average at these current values. And as they're coming to the crafting bench, we get a slight look at the surroundings of the city. I think one thing though that could really take it to the next level is wandering civilians that maybe we can or can't interact with. They don't have to give us all random quests or anything, but just seeing people besides ourselves walking around, maybe interacting with the world and stuff like that would be really cool. After they craft this bow, we tune into the next character that shows us what the tailoring bench will look like. Here's where we can finally see some of the armor perks we'll be using. And the perk they get when they craft the robe is very interesting. Looks like not only will we get bonuses to crafting off food and trophies, but also gear. And we're still not able to see the newer weapons in their inventories or crafting menus, despite these two being capped out on their professions. But moving on to the next part, we get a look at some of the emotes we'll have access to. On the right side we see ones like cheering, dancing of course, dice rolls, flexing, thumbs up, and some other ones that are currently locked. That does remind me though that we haven't actually seen what was in the cash shop or what will be. I'm starting to get curious if some of these might be purchasable in it, or maybe locked behind achievements, which would be a system I would personally love to see. That's something that can definitely cater to both hardcore and more casual players. We also get a shot of them traveling through another city after waving bye to this innkeeper. And this one appears to be a different city altogether, considering Restless Shores had a purple banner and this one seems to have a blue. I do love what we're seeing here, but I really have to say again, these open areas would be perfect for some wandering NPCs, and maybe even outside the cities perhaps. The last location we see is a swamp-like area known as Brightwood. In here we get a look at this gorgeous giant Azoth tree. We've seen it plenty of times before, but there's still so many questions I have about its story and what purpose it serves. It does seem to be surrounded with soul sprouts though, and this is where the character is able to gather some soul essence, which we know we can use for crafting arcana related items. This is also where we get introduced to even more unique enemies, starting with this dryad mage who creates a shockwave effect. Let's hope that hints towards the future of what we might see from magic, because the game could really use some variety there. The article talks about this next area directly. This place is filled with creatures of the lost. These ones also seem to employ their own fighting styles. This ghoul creature right here is already my favorite, because I'm really hoping we can get that whirlwind skill for the great axe. Couldn't help but notice that he also turns his back during the fight and blocks this character's attack with the coffin on their back. Before that though, they start generating an aura that damages the player over time, at least until they interrupt it. After fighting another ghoul and ghost this time, we come to a church where they encounter one infused with magic. This one has clear differences from the ghost we saw outside, and its own set of skills seem to either resemble lightning or void magic. Interesting part here is that they have two different types of chests they gather from. The first one is a supply crate that gives regular resources, but the second one is known as an alchemy crate. If you're a crafter, this could be an alternate way to stock up on resources while leveling out in the world. Lastly, wanted to showcase the swamp giant that they fight at the end here. This one has its own name and doesn't seem too strong, so I don't think it's the same one we saw last time, since that one was in a field instead of a church. But I did want to go over a few other details in the article. Like I mentioned before, the article talks about artifact encounters that we will come across in New World. So similar to the arena key to fight the Spriggan, if we go to areas like the Ancient Tower we saw, we might be able to get one of these artifacts to take to an undisclosed location and fight a dangerous boss with our party. Now this sounds more like the open world field bosses we heard about before. We've already seen locations that I would suspect might have one of these. Just like Scorpius Tower, Murkgard, or even one of these ancient temples. We might discover not just Angry Earth type of bosses, but maybe even Corrupted or some of the ancient guardians themselves. Really interested to see what comes from this, but I'm glad we got the chance to get a full showcase of this before beta. This gives us a much deeper public look on how exploring New World is really going to be. But with that, what do you guys think about this footage so far? Do you think the mobs will end up providing a good challenge? And what about these artifact bosses? Let us all know in the comments below. Thanks again for taking the time to check out this video. Have a wonderful night or day, and farewell.